Awesome. So speaking of countertops, I think if we go back like 5 years, the fake granite was going into all the apartments, and then the world sort of upgraded, and now to have an apartment that's going to rent quickly, for a while it was granite. What are you seeing now in terms of trends that you're seeing into apartments? I feel like there's in the last couple of years there's been more and more at least counter types and stone types that have been more prominent and that have been coming to light that I didn't really necessarily know people even knew about. But what are you seeing as trends when it comes to countertops?
I would say it just really depends too on your class of renters.
Mm-hmm.
I've been seeing a lot of man-made material just because it's a lot more cost effective. And when I say man-made, I'm referring to like laminates, just because laminates can easily be replaced. And laminates now, they just have so many amazing options. I mean, they've got laminates that have wood grain laser etched in them. So it looks like actual wood material, but it's a laminate, and it's a very cost effective material, and it does hold up, and it's easy to replace, which is really nice. I've also seen in my projects personally that I specify, my background is luxury residential, so I really like the natural porous stones, which is going to be
Mm-hmm.
more of like a granite, which are not the best for renters just because depending on like your class that you're renting to and the way that it withstands and what it can withhold, it's just not as durable as a man-made product. So it's something that I would suggest just to stay away from because it can be very costly. And as I mentioned, the stone is porous. So what porous means is that if you spill something on top of a white granite countertop, say you spill some red Hawaiian punch on there and you leave it there for 3 days, the stone will suck up that Hawaiian punch and it will leave a red stain, and it is almost impossible to get it out. I've heard of stories where we've had to, and I've actually ran into situations like this where we've contemplated like just removing that slab of that counter and replacing it with a new slab because we could not get the spot out. And I did the research, had someone professional come out to clean it, tried cleaning it myself. So I would definitely stay away from natural products unless it's, obviously for personal. Just a lot more cost effective and easier to go with a man-made laminate or stone.
Are we getting to the point on the countertop? So I remember 10 years ago, LVP was terrible. Like there's so many apartments we take over that has this LVP from, this is 5, 10 years ago where they put this LVP in, and it might have just been, it was just vinyl plank back then, I think, but water would get on it and peel. And now we look at LVP, and I mean, it's a premier product that is harder to damage for the tenants. It looks almost exactly like, hardwood floors. If you don't really know what you're looking for, you're not going to tell the difference. Are we there yet with laminate counters where you can get a laminate counter and the untrained eye won't really understand the difference?
Oh yeah, definitely. Without a doubt. The product that is available now, it's going to be more expensive too. It's still going to cost less than all natural product, but you could never, to the
Mhm.
untrained eye, you would never be able to tell.
What do you think that price difference is in terms of like, just give me, just pick a slab of granite and a slab of this laminate that's at the same size. What do you think price difference wise?
Like a sheet of laminate can be anywhere from $100 to $400, and a sheet at 4 feet by 8 feet, right? And that's typically how laminate sheets are cut and placed. And if you're looking at a
Mhm.
granite slab, you're looking at about a couple $1,000 like a slab that size, at least like
Mhm.
$5,000 to $6,000.
That's a huge difference, and it sounds like they'll probably last, if not just as long, probably longer, just because it's harder for the tenants to really ruin them with them being porous and everything with the granite.
Yeah, and also too, like laminates are treated. So they're meant to handle high heat, they're meant to handle spills, scratches, stains, and it's not going to be as damaging to the product as it would be if you were doing a natural stone or a natural product. It's just a lot more man-made products. Though they are not the best for the environment, they hold up a lot longer. And, things with sustainability for me is always a first and foremost too. So once you decide to start applying like laminates to your projects, you can always too. What I've seen is people, what you don't use, you can donate, or you can, store for a future time. But more or less, I've seen a lot of like donating. So anything that you don't use, there's no need to discard. You can always donate. And there's so many sites too, like Facebook Marketplace, where you could just give it away if you didn't want it, and somebody could take it and utilize it for a smaller project if they need it.
Nice. Are you on? Do you find a lot of things? I was watching Magnolia Channel with my wife yesterday. They're always going to these different vintage shops and really just like advanced garage sales. You brought up Facebook Marketplace. You find anything there ever that you've used in a flip or a turn? Have you had any luck like that, or better ideas to find used things or things that people are giving away?
I am actually a huge antiquer. I've been antiquing for like, I want to say like 30 years. It's been a really long time. And I pull many, many, many things from antique shops into my projects. So a lot of times the properties that I invest in Chicago South Side or Kenwood, Hyde Park area, they are, especially the Kenwood Hyde Park area, there's a lot of architecture that was originally built in the 1850s. So with that, when we come in and we're buying property here, our main goal is to restore the pre-existing, right? So I'm going to try to come in and restore that door. We're going to add a brass kick plate at the bottom of it. We're going to go antiquing for some new brass doorknobs. We can antique for a transom window above the door. There's so many things that you can find and utilize in antiques, and even it's great idea for you to go out and to check it out if that is something that you're interested in, because it also does to open the horizon for a lot more ideas. Sometimes things that you maybe would not have thought of until you actually come across something and it sparks something in you. But yeah, I've been antiquing for many, many years, and I pull a lot of great pieces from that. And also too, because the things that you find can be sometimes at a quarter of the cost in comparison to you buying it brand new.
Nice, nice. Are you finding more stores like Chicagoland area, or I feel like, and I don't do it a lot, but I do enjoy walking around those stores. And a lot of times when we're driving up to Michigan or Wisconsin, we see a lot. But where are you finding these stores that are getting good luck?
So the best ones that I go to, I would say if you're in Illinois, a great place to start would be Deerfield, Illinois. They have amazing antique shops there, really great. And then also too, like Wisconsin, they're going to have the best, because really like in Michigan too, like any of those places that have more like the people have been on the, probably own that property for generation after generation, that's where you find the really great stuff. And typically it's a country house that's been in the family for 200 years, and they've unfortunately moved on and they're not going to reside anymore there. And they've got 200 years worth of things to sell. And I mean, I've seen things that you're just like, oh, that's what that is. So it's like very interesting, like understanding, discovering the history. Yeah, really, really great experience. Highly suggest that if anybody has time on a Saturday. I usually make a whole Saturday out of it.
Nice. The other thing you mentioned in the kitchen was painting cabinets or repainting or refinishing cabinets versus buying new. Any tips on that in terms of special paint that you're using, or tips to make them last longer? I know I've seen some people do it where it turns out beautiful, and I've seen other people where they try to do it in like a week later. It looks like it's peeling. Any tips to prevent that?
Yeah, so typically the reason why it's probably peeling is because they didn't, it needs to be sanded down first and it needs to be stripped. And once that process is complete, the paint should adhere to that, like putting lotion on skin. It should suck right into it. It shouldn't peel off or anything like that. And typically you want to go in with a couple coats of paint, right? And anywhere from like 2 to 4, sometimes depending on the color, maybe even 6 coats. And you really want to use a good quality. Yeah, you really, it just depends on what paint you're going with. If it's, more on like a lighter or if it has a darker hue to it, just because you need enough coats so that you can't see through, especially if those pre-existing cabinets were oak cabinets. So you don't want to see any wood grain coming through. And then also it's very, very important that you use a manufacturer that stands behind their product. And a manufacturer that stands behind their product is Benjamin Moore. Benjamin Moore has been around for a very long time. And their product, if there's anything wrong with the paint, even if you've opened it, you sealed it up, you go to open it 6 months later and it's dried up, they'll replace it for you. I mean, like, they really, truly do stand behind their product. And that's why I specify them for basically every single project that I do, because they take care of my client. And at the end of the day, happy client makes you happy, so it's just really important to make sure you're incorporating like the best of the best when you are putting together your presentations or you're completing projects, even, whether it be on a larger scale or a smaller scale. It's important to give every project just as much attention and good product investment, right? So, and we really want to do that because it keeps the client happy at the end of the day. And also, too, once they have, people coming over and seeing their new cabinets, they can talk about it, understand why, because you can also have somebody come in and give an opinion like, oh, you paid that much. And, well, yeah, I paid that much. And I paid that much because it takes 6 layers of paint to paint these cabinets. And we could have gotten, hardware for $2 a knob, but I decided I wanted something a little nicer. So I spent $15 a knob on the hardware, and it's my home. So I decided to do that, so it's like all these little things just to, once I feel like you educate the person and the client and give them all this information, it helps them to be more savvy and to basically like, you're kind of protecting your client and teaching them if somebody comes at them like, oh, I can't believe you spent that much money. They have a reason why they did, so they don't have to come back to you later and say, you know what, I'm kind of regretting it. Like, I don't know why I spent all this money, or maybe I don't want to do that next time. Instead, that doesn't even happen. What's going to happen is, well, my client's going to say, well, Robin told me, this is the process. This is what we had to go through. And this is why it costs what it does. Can we reduce that cost? Sure. But maybe we're going to reduce how many layers of paint that we put on that cabinetry, and we'll do 3. And if 3's enough, you let me know. And if it's not, we can come back and add more. But it's always about being upfront with your client, because when you're upfront with your client and you build that trust, it's a really great relationship to have, because they depend on you. And that's definitely where you want to be with your client. You want them to feel that they can trust you and go to you and not have to, pull back or second think anything that they're telling you.